Okay, I'm not going to do this for too long. Um, Hold on, I'm going to cut my phone notifications off for a second. Okay, good. So hopefully y'all can hear me. But I want to talk about a few things because I'm not going to be online too much because we're going into the Christmas season and, you know, that's just family time. But, oh, hey, thank you so much for being here. I want to talk for a few minutes, okay? Because as a Black woman who is middle aged and who has been through some things and has been open about things that have been, frankly, um, weaponized against me, I want to tell all of you, other Black women, regardless of your age, one thing we have to pay attention to is we have to be careful about um, taking advice from Black women that we wouldn't like, we wouldn't want to live their lives, right? So, one of the things that a lot of Black women have gotten upset with me about is the fact that I have told all of you that we should not promote sex work. And I stand on that. Now, that doesn't mean that, I dislike those of you who are sex workers, but I don't think we should be promoting that. Because if we're very honest, all of the Black women who are online promoting sex work, their lives are fucked up. They're homeless. They don't have custody of their kids. They haven't had any real work history. Um, so that's just not ideal. Okay. Um, and in the profession that I work in, it's one thing to be a woman where you are out of the workforce because you are attending school or you are caring for your family members or you are caring for your children or anything like that. But one thing I will tell you is that if you have not had any work history in the last 5 years, you're not going to get a decent job. If you have had any felony criminal history in the last 7 years, you're not going to get a job. And if you have had any criminal history, no matter how long ago it was, but it was work related or it was related to people's information and identity, you are not going to get a job. Now, you have the right to be upset with me for saying that. You do. But when you go out here and you experience those outcomes, what you don't get to do is be upset with the Black women who have been honorable, law abiding citizens when we don't want to finance your lives. Because there's a difference between being a Black woman who, okay, you tried to do the right thing and you lost a job and maybe you've been through an, I don't know, an eviction or a foreclosure and you come back from that. But if you have been a Black woman who has felt good about dealing with other Black women's husbands and boyfriends. We should not trust you, and we have the right to say that. We do. And we have the right to say that, well, your life is going this way. So I don't want to take your advice, because if I take your advice and you haven't figured out your life, why would I want to go in that direction? We have the right to say that. And then the other questions we are able to ask, right, is like, if you have family and friends, and no one in your family group and no one in your friend group is willing to help you, that says something about you. Because one thing that I know, as dramatic and off kilter as I am, if I ever needed something, there's no way, right? There's no way that I would be living in a car, in a hotel. There's no way that I would be cleaning toilets, or any of the things that these other Black women are going through. There's no way that I would have to post pictures on the internet with a paltry, weird looking dildo in a man's ass. Like, I would never have to be in that situation. I just wouldn't have to do it. So we have the right to look at other Black women and say, okay, if no one in your life wants to help you, why should we help you? Especially because so many of these women come onto these online platforms and they make fun of us, whether you're a kept woman, right? So you're a housewife and you're taken care of, in performing wifely duties, or you're a woman and you're single, right? But you get up and you work every day, or you have a blended role, right? So you're married or you're in a relationship and you make your own money. They make fun of us. And they say we don't know what we're doing. And they threaten to dox us. But at the same time, they want our money to subsidize their lives. And I'm asking you a real question, right? Because these bitches talk about me all day, every day. So I'm asking you a real question. Would you trade your life with these girls who are on Reddit because they're, I don't know, they're complaining about being dark skinned and being sex workers, and so they don't feel desired, right? So they're complaining about that, and they're telling you that they're living a soft life. They're telling you that. But then when we see their pictures, I don't know, the pictures don't match that. So they're telling you that. And they're calling us old. But they're not much younger than us, right? They're not much younger than us, and they're struggling to go through school. And they're pretending to live in other parts of the world. But they don't know who they're talking to. So they're pretending. So for example, and this is just a random example, right? But they're pretending to live in Asia. But they don't realize that your cousin's wife is Japanese, right? And her mother is now deceased. And so her cousin's wife is like this elderly Asian man, right? And they don't realize that we understand the time difference, right? The time difference between, even if you're talking about the eastern coast of the United States, right? There's a sizable time difference between here versus Japan. But they don't realize that we know that. They don't have that understanding, right? Because they don't know that our Japanese cousin-in-law loves us to death, right? So we don't know the time difference. So when you're posting all of this stuff, like, girl, you're not in Asia. You're right there in a raggedy ass hotel in Maryland. But then me saying this would be called doxing. As they are actively on Clubhouse trying to dox my friend, they thought, like, bitch, you thought you could dox me. Bitch, you thought. And you thought you could get these other girls to hop off the porch. But they have nothing on me. Okay? You thought that you thought that no one knew that Riddler wasn't simply Leah CS. Like, bitch, you thought. You thought you were going to be able to find a job or a housing situation where something would happen that would be tangible enough to fuck with my life. You thought that. But when I told you that I'm going through a divorce that motherfucker doesn't want, you thought I wasn't serious. I stay away from that nigga. I do. I stay away from him. Y'all are weird. Y'all are weird. Cause if I wanted to, I could be back at that bitch's house. I don't trust that nigga. And there are reasons for that, but I'm not going to tell y'all that because you like to weaponize Black women's pain. Because you have Haitian bitches, right? So, like, you got this one bitch And her family is from Haiti, right? Where they're still eating like mud pies and smoking tampons, right? But this bitch thought it not robbery to come on the internet and say that she cared about Black women who are victims of abuse. I have never lied about what took place in my marriage. And I have never come on here and told y'all that that man physically abused me, because he didn't. But this bitch and her minions thought it was funny to use my divorce as a reason to say that certain Black women deserve to be abused. I deserve to be abused because you're a dumb, cheap wearing, wig ass bitch, raggedy ass bitch that likes to fuck with other Black women. I am a Black woman that you don't like. So I deserve to be beaten and abused. So if I looked at you and I looked at the entire lounge of you who claim to be ex divesters and sex workers, and if I said that you deserved what happens to women, like I can't even say it. There are things happening to women in the sex work industry. But if I said you deserved that, I would be evil and vile. And then to other Black women who are sitting on the porch, who apparently are butthurt, right? Because they have not liked me for years. You're willing to believe unfounded rumors about me and other Black women. And you're willing to use that. You're willing to use that. You're willing to use that to dox other Black women, right? Because we still have the situation with Lolita, right? And Lolita had a business that she thought she could share with other Black women on this platform. And I respect Lolita and I love her as much as I love my own family. So, that was her business. And she trusted certain ones of you. And you guys got into a clubhouse argument. A clubhouse argument. And those of you who have spent years wanting an opportunity to play with her, use that to call yourselves doxing her on Clubhouse. But I want to tell you something. All you have shown, right, is that she never lied to y'all. She been a black girl married to her man. Her man happened to be white. But y'all took a picture that is over a decade old. And you think it's funny to spread that around Clubhouse. But if I start talking about how all of you who are doing that have criminal records and you're in debt, then I'm going to be wrong for that, right? Just like, right? So when I was made aware of a certain conversation, right? When I was made of a certain conversation that Woman Spear had on Sweet Life of Atari's platform, right? I was wrong for asking Sweet Life of Atari, like, bitch, why are you letting this girl slander me on your platform? Why are you letting her do that? I was wrong for that, which is fine. Which is fine. But we have to see, I have to do this because Black Woman Sphere is a scammer. She's a certified scammer and she has been convicted for scamming people. She has public criminal records for scamming people. Okay? And I don't care how anyone feels about anyone else. But one thing I will tell you is if you were trying to get a loan or a grant during the height of COVID, there were federal laws saying that you cannot be charged fees to request that information. So asking people to pay you for things that the federal government said was free was illegal. But when I tell you that I'm wrong, but when this bitch and her minions, right, including that bitch who claims to have been sexually molested when she was a little girl, okay, and Beak, that beak-nosed pelican bitch, laughed about it, but you still cool with that bitch? And you forgave that? You forgave that from a bitch that you had private conversations with, but you talking to, listen, bruh, these bitches on here are fake. You talking about people who never did anything to you. But then the space is listening to Black women that, like, if you go out here and you exist in the world, would you listen to someone who can't get a job? Like, even if you get fired today, you can probably get a job within the next few months. So would you listen to someone who can't do that? Would you listen to people who are homeless? And they're not homeless because they had a hard time or, you know, they had a job loss or whatever, but they're homeless because they're raggedy, criminal ass bitches who have never had anything to show for themselves, right? And all of these Black girls that y'all claim to love, would you tell your Black daughter, granddaughter, niece, sister, cousin, whoever. Would you tell either of them to be in a situation where they can't even get a job? They can't rent or buy anything. They're so fucked up and raggedy that they have to use a Russian bitch's pictures. Would you do that? Would you do that? Would you recommend any of that for the little black girls that you actually know? These girls who are on Reddit and they're so self-hating and they're sex workers and they're complaining because they feel like they're too dark skinned to be desired. Are those the women that you want representing you? These bitches who are defending men, regardless of race, men who really try to exploit black women. And when we tried to call that out, they jumped on other black women. They jumped on other black women with like lies, lies, lies. I don't talk to anyone, like literally, whether it's the internet or my real life. I talk to my parents. I talk to my siblings. I talk to my nieces. I talk to my nephew because he has his own cell phone now. I talk to one of my little cousins. And I have some other cousins that I only talk to through Facebook. And when it comes to the internet, there's only one person who has my direct contact information, but with no proof. With no proof. People can get on here and talk shit. And I want it to be known that it was divested black women who first told y'all to be careful about men coming into these spaces. And then if you go back a few years, you had an unhinged bitch who literally came on here and told you that the fact that she was being abused by a white man was better than being single. And you had women in the space who supported it. And then we got to talk about the fact that for the last year, you have had black women warning other black women, okay, about a certain motherfucker in this space. And you had all these bitches who hopped off the porch to support him. Whether they had 200,000 plus subscribers, 400,000 plus subs, or anything less, they supported that motherfucker. You gotta look at that. Because you have black women. You have black women trying to tear up the space of black womanhood. And they have tried to send incel after incel over here. Whether that motherfucker was black, white, Asian, whatever. But those of us who understand what it is recognize that we don't have problems with our personal dating, relationship, and marital lives with men of other races. And guess what, bitch? We don't have problems with that, with the niggas that you want either. We don't have those issues. But I am asking this question to black women in the space. Why are you paying attention to black women that, like, you wouldn't trade places with? Why are you doing that? Black women who are disgruntled and lying about their lives and they can't get a job because they have felony convictions that prevent them from working, and that's just a reality. Okay, if you have had a felony in the last 7 years, you're not going to get a job. And if you have had certain convictions beyond 7 years that were workplace related or are related to defrauding people, you're not going to get a job. That's just the reality. And then say you have no criminal record. You have no criminal record. If you have not had a job history of any kind in the last 5 years, you're not going to get a job. People who do background checks and recruiting do not look at your work history beyond 5 years. But you're mad at me for telling you that. But you're listening to girls who have a problem with that, but they're homeless, they're living in hotels, or they're living off their moms, and then they're lying on other black women who do not have those issues. And let me tell you something else. If you're a woman and you're going through a difficult situation and no one in your life cares enough to help you, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. Because I have said this repeatedly, but apparently I have to say it again. There's no way that I would be like destitute and living in a car or a hotel or whatever else y'all have going on. Girl, yes. Hey guys. But anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. But I hope y'all have a great evening. Bye.